Top four matchup in the Eastern Conference this week out in Cincinnati. Tommy G is our guy as the radio voice of the blue and orange. Tom, appreciate you hopping on, giving us a couple minutes. A Cincinnati team that, much like when I talked with Evan Weston last week, Orlando, busy start to the beginning part of the season with the Champions Cup games. Now I feel like this is a team that has settled into more of a normal MLS kind of routine.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the lack of those midweek games has been very good for this team, not having to travel as much, not having to do those quick turnarounds and having proper weeks to prepare and train as they would for these matches just on Saturdays. But when you look at the big picture, the team came out of it pretty well, right? Competed in 2 games against Monterrey, obviously got through the first round against Cavalier and sit atop the Eastern Conference without really suffering too much in your league results. So through 6 matches, 3 wins, 3 draws, have only allowed 3 goals defensively in those 6 league games, and 2 of them have been on penalty kicks. So I think all things considered, the team in a pretty good spot to start the season.
Little bit of a situation in goal with the injury
Yeah.
report, and Pat Noonan coming out and mentioning no Roman Celentano. Not sure the long term, but Tom, maybe focus on the short term because he has been a really good keeper for this team since taking over that role.
Yeah, he took it over 2 years ago. It was April of 2022 when Alacan was actually hurt warming up for a U.S. Open Cup match in which he was going to be the backup. So a little bit hard done in that regards. He was playing pretty well, lost his job to Roman Celentano because Roman got enough starts as Alec worked his way back through that rehab that you couldn't turn back, that he was the guy. And he's been the guy ever since, except for last year when he got a chance to rest. First match after clinching the Supporter Shield last year against Red Bulls at TQL Stadium, right? So this is Roman's job, but he got hurt in Charlotte, caught the turf in a funny way, and Pat came out on Thursday and said, look, he's out for this match. We'll go week by week, see if his recovery goes well. Maybe he's available next week on the road at Montreal. But that then raises the question because Alacan was playing hurt last year. He had a wrist injury, had surgery in December, and has been working his way back. He started the 2 game against Red Bulls 2 last Thursday. So he does have 1 start under his belt to get sharp, but is working his way back into the rotation. So the biggest question, I think, for everybody as they show up, as they check their phones about an hour before kickoff will be, is it Alacan who's coming back from injury and just got back to the first team, or is it former Red Bulls youth product Evan Laurel, who's been with the team the whole preseason? He was the backup the entire preseason and the entire season. He was the guy who was warming up in Charlotte that would have come in if Roman hadn't been able to continue on in that match. But I think that any way you split it, Paul Rogers has done a fantastic job with a goalkeeping unit as a whole. We've seen that since he came on when Pat Noonan was hired. He had Alec playing really well. Alec did well last year, if you remember, during the U.S. Open Cup run. So Alec's seen a couple starts for FC Cincinnati over the last year. And 3 of them, I think, have been against New York Red Bulls organization. So it'll be Alec or Evan, and it's a big decision, certainly, with Roman out, who has a 0.50 goals against average through 6 games.
Tom, tell me from a standpoint, you mentioned defensively, this team has been good through their first 6 games. And maybe that's understating it. Very good to excellent with giving up 3 goals. What about on the other side of it, the 6 goals scored? Is that number alarming for a Cincinnati team that offensively the last couple of years, as they have gotten better as a franchise, is definitely on the low side, right?
Yeah, I don't know if alarming, it's not concerning is what Pat said. He said, I'm not concerned because we're getting results. If you're not getting any results, then suddenly you're concerned because you know you need goals. So the team hasn't dropped a match yet so far this season. But yeah, absolutely, it has everybody's attention, I think is the proper way to put it. Whether you're on the technical staff, whether you're the players, the media, or the fans who will be, coming out in droves for this match on Saturday night at TQL Stadium. Does it have your attention? You better believe it. And I think that it's something they understand needs to get better. But couple that with the way the defense has played. Now Miles Robinson is in, joining Matt Miazga, the reigning defender of the year on that back line. And Cincinnati's been so good defensively that if the offense starts firing on all cylinders, like everybody seems to think and know they're capable of, then this becomes a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference, you have to believe.
When you think of it, Acosta is going to be okay. Not that he's been bad, but I mean, from a statistical side of things, the numbers will come. Is it now the Cincinnati team learning maybe how to play without a Brandon Vasquez, who has been the focal point, and the other guys not necessarily meshing yet. Is that fair to say?
I think it's a little bit of them coming together and gelling. Absolutely, right? You lost Alvaro Barrio. How important was he on every attack? Even if he didn't get the direct assist or the goal, he was still involved. He was still drawing attention. He still knew exactly where to be to influence the play. And then you had a guy like Brandon Vasquez, who was so good over the last 2+ years for FC Cincinnati. That's why he was sold on to Monterrey, and that's why he's doing a fantastic job for Rayados. So do they miss those type of guys? Absolutely. Do they have a worthy replacement in Luca Oriano over on the left side? I really believe so, but he's learning his way, right? You have Corey Baird, who's primarily been the guy starting. You have DeAndre Yedlin now, who's come in at right wing back. All these pieces, Pavel Buka in the midfield, who are learning kind of where's Lucho going to be? Because we all know what Lucho can do. And we all know that Lucho can be fantastic. He won the MVP last year, but you have to know where he's going to be to give him the ball back and where he's going to give the ball to you. And I think everybody's learning that a little bit. And as those lights come on, I think that will result in the end product coming together in the final third.
Would imagine that TQL Stadium, as you said, will be packed. Good little rivalry that's developed between New York and Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom, I appreciate you hopping on, giving us a couple minutes, and as always, look forward to seeing you in person in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, anytime. What is this, the 16th meeting across all competitions? We did this 5 times last year, so hopefully we can do it a few more times here in 2024.